They have no problems with their digestive tract any longer. They're not limping with a horrible hip pain or knee pain or foot pain, or their breast cancer is gone or something crazy.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Steve Doherty. Welcome to the Pacific Channel, where you learn about the law of attraction, meditation, and more. In this audio clip, a woman asked Dr. Joe if he has ever experienced anything paranormal, and if he does anything to protect himself. To me, this is a very interesting topic, and I think I might be able to shed some light on it in addition to what Dr. Joe says. Dr. Joe is about to say that there are many multiple or an infinite number of universes where other types of phenomena operate and reside, and that it is all consciousness. I'd like to share my own story here for a moment, and then in the outro, I'll tell you what I really think about it. When I was in my cult religion at about the age of 14 or so, my religion and my mom had me totally convinced that demons really did exist and that I had to pray for protection. One of my older brothers was about 16 at the time of the following incident. It was nighttime and we lived in a normal type home with a garage. But my mom had convinced me that items that her mother gave her were demonized. So she put every single item that her mother gave her in the garage. Well, this one night, my parents were gone for a few hours and I had a project for school I had to complete. I think I needed a hammer or something, but I was very afraid to go out and get it from the garage. My brother had recently denounced the religion and left it, right? So I asked him to go get the hammer from the garage since he didn't believe in this stuff anymore. But he still had the brainwashing thing going on too. He refused to do it. I'll never forget this. I went out to the side of the garage in the pitch dark. I put my hand on the door handle and slowly started to open it. When I got it about halfway open, this loud voice out of nowhere yelled, "Get out!" I froze but managed to ask, "What?" The voice was much louder this time and yelled, "Get out!" I slammed the door and ran inside the house. Now, this wasn't my brother. I know that's the first thing that you might think. It was not my brother. It was a voice that sounded like it came from everywhere. I can't explain it. Let's let Dr. Joe explain what he thinks that paranormal is, and then let's address this topic that was not really addressed, which is, do we really have to protect ourselves from evil and the paranormal? Let's listen to Dr. Joe now.
All my life, I've been taught to protect myself from evil spirits. I've heard stories about ghosts and other paranormal entities who try to hurt us. Have you ever experienced something paranormal? And do you do anything to protect yourself? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila. I think this three-dimensional reality is one of multiple universes that exist simultaneously. And many of those universes are material, and a lot of those universes are immaterial. They're potentials. They're a different wavelength. They're a different frequency. They're a different energy, and each plane, each dimension has its own individual energy, and energy is information, frequency is information. So there's infinite universes that exist, and many times when you dissociate completely from this three-dimensional reality and you can exist as pure consciousness, I think there's a bleed through or an interface between worlds. And every one of those different frequencies and every one of those different universes that contain information about that particular space and time is a level of consciousness. There are beings that exist in all those houses, from the very lowest density. Let me be very clear: just because somebody doesn't have a body does not mean they're enlightened. It just doesn't mean that. They're a soul on the journey, and they're in a different dimension. And then there are houses of consciousness that are very sophisticated, very orderly, wonderful and humorous and super wise and stimulating, and that are beyond our imagination. And I think you get what you get based on your own level of consciousness. And sometimes you can interact with planes or levels where the game is about the consumption of energy, and so it may not be the most evolved experience that you would ever have. And really, those experiences typically correlate with the first three energy centers. I've had my own experience in those realms, and there's really one of two things to do that I've discovered personally. One is to react, and when you do, things get worse because it's a very different realm than this realm. Things are more connected to the thought, is more connected to the experience. So your reaction immediately kind of worsens your odds of having an evolved experience. But if you understand that it's a thought realm there, and it's frequency, and frequency is information, and it's a certain level of consciousness, then you could actually pause for a moment and change your frequency, change your energy, and move closer to love. And it goes contrary to what you're experiencing at the moment, but so does life, and that's kind of one of the things I've learned. And so you could actually escape from that realm and unfold into another one, a different house, a different level of consciousness. And if that is your passion, if that is your ambition, if that is your desire, you could have a lot of friends that live in eternity. And we have had so many great testimonies of people who have had coherence healings, and the energy in the room was just right for an intervention with some assistance. Now, I don't know anything about angels. I'm not anything about guides. I don't know anything about spirits, really. I don't see it that way. I see everybody as individual souls or entities that are on the journey back to, on the spiral back to source. And some are just higher up on the spiral, and they're tuned to a greater frequency, and they don't inhabit physical bodies. And they're very interested, when there's a lot of coherence in the room, that they can lower their energy to a certain level that allows that to be an interface between worlds, and they can work with that person laying down there with their light body, their photographic body in the field of light. They work with that body. And to many people, it's a very real experience, very, very real, and very transcendental. And they're altruistic, because the person is very sincere, and it's the right moment for them. So we have had, when that has happened, I'm not so interested in the phenomena. I'm more interested in the effect to that person, whether it's real or imagined. It doesn't matter to me, except the fact that their cancerous lesions fell off their skin. They have no problems with their digestive tract any longer. They're not limping with a horrible hip pain or knee pain or foot pain, or their breast cancer is gone, or something crazy as a result of that experience that is multidimensional. Remember, not in this dimension, but in another one. That the interference somehow is the seeming of two worlds. And that's a possible reality in the infinite number of realities there are. And so there's an interface that takes place, and somehow there's a transformation that takes place in that person's body. I think that is phenomenologically interesting, because their subjective experience somehow produce some very objective changes. I love that. I love when that happens. Now, there are times when your body is absolutely in a catatonic state. You can't move it at all. You're all of a sudden aware that you're something other than that. And you wake up in another body. I don't know what that is, but you're aware that you're aware, and it's a different world. And it's really about the management of your attention and the management of your energy. And we have to really, really understand that in order for us to evolve our experience in the multiverse, is that we have to master our emotions in this three-dimensional reality. And when we master our emotions, we master our creations. And that's fundamentally important, because if you're living in fear all day long, you're at a certain level of consciousness. Unless you're really striving for your experience in something else intentionally, you may wind up in a world where that is the consciousness. If you're preoccupied with power and control, or whatever it is for the person, controlling everything in their life, there's a consciousness for that as well, and you may wake up in that realm. So the more we evolve our consciousness, the more we open our hearts, the more we create a more refined nervous system, the more that we interact with energy and frequency, and really, really master those emotions, we move to a greater level of consciousness. I think we're worthy to have wonderful experiences, and many people that are in this work that really, really strive to awaken certain things in terms of an unknown in their life, really are starting to activate that radio receiver in the limbic brain there, and they're getting really tuned into different realities, different universes, and I know that when you do have those experiences, I mean, you appreciate this world so much more, and at the same time you realize you absolutely are so limited in your understanding of the idea that we're a linear being living a linear life, that we're really a dimensional being living a dimensional life. And so at our events, when the audience's energy can raise to a certain point, and we've measured this, they will, a lot of times they'll lower their frequency, and right in that realm right there is where they meet us, and it's just got to be the right moment at the right time, and so someone as a materialist, someone who's studied more science than anything else, it opened my mind, not only just from my own personal experiences and with the mystical, but also just with some of the things that are happening in our community, and what we're starting to interact with. So I think it's an exciting time, but I think it really is related to the collective consciousness, and I think it's just.
So, according to Dr. Joe, members of his community have had experiences where it appears that benevolent entities have actually entered their space during a coherence meditation. When the energy level in the room reaches a certain height, these entities seem to be able to lower their frequency level, come in, and take part in the healing. Dr. Joe also said that this is just the beginning of our understanding. This is just amazing, to be honest, right? I didn't know that this kind of thing may have been happening at Dr. Joe's events, but it makes sense now. Personally, I don't claim to have all the answers to the questions that have been brought up, but let me explain what the theories are from some of the best teachers, and I'll give you my opinion, which could be wrong. Yes, I believe that it is true that there is a cadre of fairies of the universe who are out there lovingly helping us if we just simply ask for help. These non-physical beings are usually our relatives who have passed on, or other types of beings who we might describe as angels or benevolent beings. I do believe this part. So many of the best teachers believe in reincarnation, and there's actually a lot of proof that it is real. There's also the work of Dr. Stephen Greer, who has a lot of proof that UFOs exist, and that there are benevolent ETs out there who want to communicate with us, who have communicated with him through light orbs and much more. He created the Disclosure Project documentary back in 2000 and invited all the media to come listen to 20 ex-military people who said that ETs are real, UFOs are real, and our government has been hiding this information from us. It hasn't been until the last couple of years that our government finally admitted that UFOs exist. Now, some people think that Dr. Stephen Greer is controlled opposition, so take all of that with a grain of salt. There are other teachers who believe that there are nefarious entities like the Greys or reptilian ETs who have infiltrated our government and are working with our governments for not so great reasons. All of that is very fear-based, so take that with a grain of salt too. However, Having said all of that, what Dr. Joe is basically saying is that if you have a level of consciousness of fear, then you can manifest those lower vibrational entities into your experience. But if you keep your vibration high, you will not. In other words, you are the creator of your reality. If you want to believe in demons, then you can make them true. If you want to believe that they do not exist, then you will make that true instead. If you believe that you need protection, then you will. If you believe that you don't need protection, then you won't. I heard it also said that these nefarious entities feed off of our fear. So even if you do believe in them, the answer is to keep your vibration high. In other words, don't fear them, even if you do believe in them. You get what you think about whether you want it or not. Other really good law of attraction teachers like Abraham say that there is no source of evil. There is only the lack of light. So what they say is that none of these nefarious entities exist, that mankind has created these bad entities as a way to explain their own disconnection from source. Personally, this is the way that I prefer to believe. But I've heard that some of these teachers are controlled opposition too. So again, I will never believe in any teacher 100% because it leaves out the opportunity of healthy questioning. Think for yourself. What answer feels best to you? Do you live in fear of demonic entities or not? Personally, I feel that demons do exist for people who want to believe in them. But since I don't believe in them any longer, I don't ever have an experience with them. And this is even after I am sure that when I was 14, I heard the voice of a demon as clear as a bell, which scared the bejeebers out of me. I was 14. It wasn't like I was 8, right? 14, you kind of got your act together. You know what I mean? You want to know the truth? Then check in with your gut instinct. Trust yourself. All the answers are within you. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, share this video with at least 5 of your friends so that you can qualify for the Dr. Joe Dispenza week-long retreat, and comment below about whether or not you believe in the paranormal. Do nefarious entities exist? Do angels exist? What do you think? What proof do you have? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.